this lovely isle. Every day you see him, he always have a hearty smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I will send my wife. And then he'll tell you, he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have plenty fun, in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners to recall, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all. So all of them were talking, they either drunk or they staring mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper will tell you why. Now our steel band is the best talent in the world. Like calypsos or stories are told. Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They will paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test, and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch leg is the greatest one.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Welcome, of course, to the Corridor Transformation, of course, Tuesday edition of this particular program. Very topical, very contemporary. Sometimes, of course, in terms of the topic and the expression thereof, one can say controversial, but controversialism is well placed when, of course, the facts are being told. Let me repeat. Controversialism is well placed when the facts are being told, and those who describe or characterize facts as controversial, then I say to hell with all you. The hell with you. Facts are facts and very disturbing. So let us not focus or in any way believe that we are doing something wrong or inimical because we have, of course, exposed in our own inimitable way the facts that are contemporary and historical and of course looking towards the future. So let us not waste time. Tonight, of course, we will examine in brief, of course, the conclusion that we must now obviously engage in terms of course, that the debacle, that, of course, that imbroglio as far as the Commissioner of Police is concerned, and, of course, the recent development as to the issuance of a pre-action protocol letter to the Police Service Commission. Yes, it is getting even more intense and more intriguing. But we have another issue as well. How the hell Jamaica could be boasting we are patriotic, whether you want to call me jingoistic, meaning that, of course, I have a particular notion, or should I say passion, for nationalism and national development. After all, I am Trinbagonian. Just as how Jamaica is now boasting that they have, of course, fuel security, and they kept, of course, their oil refinery for that very purpose, and it is government run. But Rowley and they are telling us that the government has gone out of that business and gave us every other example where oil refineries are closing down, but they never told us about Jamaica. And Jamaica, comparatively speaking, is poorer than us. How come that they can, of course, maintain an oil refinery that we can? We will look at that tonight. and of course examine the continued betrayal and the continued, of course, what I consider to be treasonous behavior of the Rowley administration. And of course, the recent statement by Stuart Young, or Stuart Little, or that moron called Young, is cause for deep and what I consider to be critical concern. The statement he made about, of course, the justification for purchasing oil, bunker fuel, from, of course, the Jamaicans via their oil refinery. We will look at that tonight and see in it all the confessions that generates the inescapable notion that they ought not to have been in office, and that level of betrayal of Trinidad and Tobago must be seen as treasonous. That conspiracy to, of course, deprive Trinidad and Tobago of natural ability to maneuver in a very hostile economic environment as far, of course, of geopolitical realities are concerned, and of course the shifting tides as far as economic fortunes are concerned. These people, I say conclusively, have deliberately deployed a plan to, of course, reduce Trinidad and Tobago, and if we give them any further wiggling room, so to do, they will destroy Trinidad and Tobago, not only making us the laughing stock of the Caribbean, but also the rags, or should I say, the riches to rag scenario. The riches to rag scenario, they will plunge us into that situation. I say so without fear of contradiction. And of course, everything we prove. We prove what we say, and what we say we can prove. Yes, people. So of course, let's say Trinidad is my land, yes indeed, and yours, and of it we must collectively and individually be proud. Let's say a little piece of it before, of course, we get into the business of tonight's program, where, of course, we will prove the continuing, of course, disaster that is, of course, the PNM under the Rowley and the Stuart Young administration.
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint you black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real thing, Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing.
Randolph Burrows was a flamboyant and notorious commissioner of police from 1978 to 1987, whose career ended in disgrace. He'd enlisted in the police force in 1950, spent most of his service in the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, and created the infamous Flying Squad. The Flying Squad came about after a 1972 shootout between police and a group of men along Blanchisseuse Road. Burrows's Flying Squad shot and killed some 18 members of the National Union of Freedom Fighters, NUF, an armed revolutionary group that fought a guerrilla campaign against the government of Prime Minister Dr. Eric Williams in the aftermath of the 1970 Black Power Revolution. The squad went on to develop a reputation for allegedly carrying out extrajudicial killings. Nonetheless, Burrows became popular for his fearless stance on criminals, and the squad was credited with markedly reducing crime. In the meantime, Burrows wooed the media so as to dominate newspaper headlines, and consequently he and the Flying Squad gained folk hero status for their exploits. However, it all came crashing down with the release of the controversial Scott Drug Report in 1986, by the NAR government headed by Prime Minister A.N.R. Robinson. The Garvin Scott inquiry had been commissioned by the previous government of Prime Minister George Chambers. Its report implicated 52 police officers. Only Burrows was charged with conspiracy to murder and conspiracy to traffic cocaine. Several underworld figures testified against him as state witnesses, including Cuthbert Scotty Charles, a notorious criminal who claimed he had seen Burrows supervising the offloading of a shipment of cocaine at Carly Bay. Burrows won his case. Later, however, he was charged with conspiracy to murder 2 wanted men at Lady Young Road, Morvant.
Yes, and of course, let's pause for the moment, of course, and taking your calls. I know that, of course, this is very interesting, of course, development, because we want to make the comparison between, of course, the misfortune or the unfortunate circumstance of Burrows and that, of course, of Earl Christopher. We'll be as brief as possible because I want to go on, of course, to the Secretary of State, Marco, of course, Rubio, who, of course, visited Latin America recently, and of course, and what he had said about Venezuela and Cuba. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to, of course, the corridor. Just so let me make sure that that we have everything in place. Yes, a pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Pleasant good night to the right thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, man.
Mr. Lennox, being a little devil advocate a little bit.
Go ahead.
Based on the situation with Earl here with Christopher, and I have to say, well, whoever behind the scenes that calling the shots, right?
Yes.
I believe, this is just my belief, that the ask that woman as a praying person attending church and everything, because you realize everything she's going to be doing, she wants to pray and everything. So, you know, she's an active person in the church, right?
Yeah.
And my belief that woman was asked to do something that she refused to do. We could only know that, just being a devil's advocate, you know, we had to go, we had to check all the corners wrong, these crooks, and then we are wrong in this country, in government. So, I'm back to where I said the last time, that I believe that either she refused and we have somebody else that will do the job that we want done. I might have a feeling where what it is, but I don't want to make wrong speculations. But I believe they asked that woman something and she refused, and for that we kill you politically. Mr. Lennox, have a blessed night.
Yes, my friend, and because of the paucity or the scarcity of information and the leveling, because clearly we caught the press conference held by the new leadership of the police wanting. They lied directly and indirectly. They lied by their conduct, because it is clear that a major component or element of that press conference ought to be who? Yes, Suzette Martin ought to have been there, because they must have anticipated that not only people would like to hear from them their boast about, of course, addressing the crime situation consequential of an SOE. And I am being, of course, very generous here, because, frankly, what they told us about the statistical reality could have been achieved without a state of emergency. Let's not waste time. All they had to do was to transfer the same intensity as they have, of course, in recent times, as they say, consequential of the SOE. Well, of course, parallel it with, of course, what happens at Carnival time. Same thing, and you get the same results without having to talk about an SOE. But the SOE, clearly, based on the silence of the argument coming from officialdom about the political directorate and the implications of a firearm as well that was gifted to the police. And the inclusion, as Kamala Prasad Bisesa rightly surmised, and of common sense, and of course shared with the population and the public, gun amnesty that could not have worked, or why it could not have worked, if it could have worked only if the Rowley slim majority in Parliament would have been able, of course, to initiate it. But it was impossible because they knew, and from what the opposition would be saying, their support will not have gone to, of course, the government. And of course, they would have had to debate the matter as well, which would have brought to the forefront the role of Stuart Young and that gift that he gave to the police in the form of a weapon. I say so until, of course, we get to the details of that particular weapon that was gifted to the police. We remain unconvinced that it was not a prohibited weapon. Unconvinced. Because we know the track record of the Rowley administration and their criminalistic nature. But let's go straight to the line again. President, good night to welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Mr. Lennox Smith, good night. I'm sorry to interrupt you talking about these people with the whole Nancy story. You understand? Imagine them have people in high office, we have responsible position, and they're mentally ill to be look, you see me and them kind of thing. Let me not say much, But you can't have mentally people in these kind of position holding down until their mouth tying up, they can't talk, they looking like they're sleepy, they're hungry, all this kind of thing. That is a problem, you know.
Of course it is.
That is problem.
You have total
that is problem.
Manic,
the
depressive,
world watching
psychosis,
at this kind of foolishness,
plague.
right? Yeah. And them going along with this Nancy story back and all. Anyhow, I hear Amory Bong talking about the position we reach with the U.S. where they're not getting aid, right? Yes. I bringing up this because people are already talking about it. They're talking about this
I'm commenting. I have a clip with, of course, Marco.
Mm-hmm.
That he made a tour of Latin America.
Latin America,
yes.
No, but what I'm talking is about Amory Brown personal.
Yeah, I was going to.
So he said that is for us to work harder and we to strengthen with, you know, other countries.
That's what he's saying?
And this and that. But watch now. The ass dark, you know.
Of course, darker than dark.
I wonder if you know too, that they cut out, they want to stop illegals who living in the United States. Let's say, I believe it's Florida, the governor want to make it law that the ones who illegal there, who working and sending home money transfer through Western Union to families, you know, who here, that they're going to bar them from transferring money. If anybody, any West Indian or any outsider is to transfer money, they must have information to show. So they're making, you know, that law in a timing. Remember they call this?
Yes, you did.
Yes, because I know that is how they just punish people. Now that is just a tester. As I say, the plan for all who live in there illegal wouldn't be able to send home money to their family or whatever the case may be. But if they see it going on and on, they could block it two-way, no money transfer, because they're punishing us here as well. As you know, the tackle St. Vincent, no aid for them as well, but the punishment them get too is when it have natural disaster, you know, like with the volcano, rain, anything, they wouldn't get any assistance. That is for St. Vincent. And the United States, well, Trump sorry, he he real jamming that Jamaican prime minister. He warned him not to join BRICS. He tell them he want the Chinese out. And well, you know, they not getting any aid as well. And well, they deport some Jamaicans already. So that thing in Jamaica, coming to that thing now with this refinery.
Yes.
First, when they was excited about the dragon gas, when they get the license, when they beg Biden and Kamala, or Kamala, whatever she name is, for the lights, well, you know, to ease a little sanction and say, oh, they're boasting. I tell you, America fooling them, they ain't gonna get through. Well, you see that thing what shortly I'm talking about there? I'm raising the chest high, that and all going to fall through. Where he talking about is the strength and CARICOM. I will tell you how the plan. Let me tell you. The Petro-Caribe plan go through, right? And they can't get the gas to refine in that same refinery no more from the Venezuelan. All the time they didn't want to. When they join the Petro-Caribe thing and they leave out Trinidad and stop buying gas from us, because Maduro trusts in them. He just get them thing trust and pay later plan. All of them, the Jamaica, except Barbados. Barbados don't go in that shit. Right? All the rest of them in this Petro-Caribe thing getting freeness. And they would pay with goods and service, you know, little provision,
Yes, what they produce,
fruits
they
and all
take
this
it,
thing.
Yeah. That's called barter.
Whatever.
Yeah, barter, the barter.
Yeah, the battering. That's the word, the battering.
Yes.
And he given them a certain amount of years to pay, so they was living nice and happy with the freeness and cheap gas. But when the U.S. sanctioned Veni, they're afraid to take gas from Veni. They can't take. So then Ralph Gonzalez, he first man, was begging and sad when we closed down our refinery, right? And then now, Rowley started helping them by buying gas for them and so, as is CARICOM, right? So this whole thing is them hungry mouth CARICOM, and this is why I keep saying they wouldn't like Miss Bissetta. They don't want she there because them kind of thing them doing. She's not going to be in that, and they're going to fall. And they're living off of Trinidad and Venezuela. And coming to Rubio now, he is saying that Nicolas Maduro does assist these CARICOM countries a lot. So don't feel Rubio and know what's going on here, right? There is vote for him, as you know, in the OAS, right? So they will be looking at that. And as I told you all the other night, that refinery, they have shares. We can't just be talking, oh, we're feeling ashamed, we're feeling down, that Jamaica giving us gas. No, we have to jam harder than that, dig into it. That refinery had some problems with that same Venezuelan government with the pay the visa.
You'll get some more information on it tonight. I have the information, yeah. Don't fight me. Yeah.
You have it?
Yeah, I have it. Don't fight me. That will be part of the discussion tonight. Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
straight there. Right. Good night.
Good night to you as well, of course. So, of course, as I said, Burroughs, well, from what you have gleaned already, people, Burroughs' circumstance is quite different. There was, of course, a commission of inquiry that produced, of course, the Scott drug report. And from that, of course, when Chambers came in after Eric William died, he, of course, he initiated that Scott drug report. But when, of course, he was displaced or replaced by A.N.I. Robinson, who became prime minister, consequential of the decimation of the PNM, Chambers had all lost his seat. I expect, of course, Rowley to lose, his constituency to be on the right side of history on this occasion. But the fact of the matter is that, of course, it was Robinson that, of course, in his administration that caused, of course, the arrest of Burroughs, and as a consequence, he, of course, eventually was dismissed, and, of course, humiliated as a consequence, in spite of the what I consider to be very colorful career that he would have had. But of course, they abuse it, and he abused it, and so of course the courts found it appropriate, and then of course he went out in disgrace. So it's a different case with respect to Earl Christopher. We will discuss that later. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Dr. Lennox. Long time haven't called in, man.
Yes, man. But I know that it's just a matter of time. Two mountains don't meet, but two Christians do.
Yeah, but one reason why I'm calling, you have some people on the chat complaining that they're not getting through to Facebook. No, I use on YouTube.
Facebook. Let me see. Facebook.
No, I use on YouTube, but they can't.
Yeah, let me check that.
They can't get no comments on the Facebook now.
Or comments. They can't.
Yeah, they can't make comments.
All right, I will find out
they
why
can't
is that.
Make comments.
Okay, thanks. I'll find out why is that, because I have not looked at Facebook for some time as far as that part of it is concerned. I have other people monitoring that. They have not told me that, but I am going to, of course, look at it tonight and see. I'll ask my people to monitor. What's happening? I don't have the monitoring monitor in studio because that has, of course, broken down. So I have to get the technician. I just got a laptop there from, of course, our good friend from the United States who I met on Saturday, and he gave it to me with a new camera and so on. So we are, of course, doing some adjustments. So maybe that might have interfered with the commentary part as well. And I heard, of course, Ms. Santa Cruz said last night there may be some kind of hacking taking place as well. So we are looking at that because remember the first page was totally hacked, and therefore it was all kind of porn and other malicious intent material that, of course, doesn't give any kind of credence or any support to the transformation that we want to engender. But thank you very much, of course, for that information, and we will sit. Any other matter you wanted to address?
Well, I can't comment. I want to comment here because I'm doing my little research.
All right, my friend. Go ahead, my friend.
But let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
I said, let me ask you this. When people are on the chat using obscene language, ain't supposed to ban them, man?
Well, as I said, I don't have a monitoring element, but certainly when we engage that part of it, certainly we will be doing some banning and so on of necessity, because as the program expands, I would expect that some delinquent people will come on, and as the election fever temperature rises, I know that there are people who can't face the truth, and therefore they start to cuss. They start to cuss. So we need to, of course, make sure that these people are not regular contributors to their own, what I consider demise.
Yeah, but because you see, they can't face the truth. The truth is hard to follow.
The truth is a difficult thing. And I understand their quagmire. I understand their dilemma. I understand their hurt. But, of course, you also cannot defend the indefensible. You cannot defend evil. Evil cannot prevail over good. So it's just a matter of time. Evil is temporary. It is ephemeral. Understand that. And no matter what you do, you will not be able to change the course of history in Trinidad and Tobago. 39 seats for the UNC and Kamala Prasad Misesa, and the two in Tobago, of course, for Falio, one of them. Let's not waste time.
I totally agree.
Yes, my friend. Go ahead, my friend.
I totally agree.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Yes, indeed. So thanks for the information. Of course, I'll have my people. I know that they are listening and they are expressing some concern, but as I said, we don't have the monitoring mechanism to monitor the live program as we speak and so on, because they would be in another room or just besides me here doing the monitoring and, of course, observing those comments and so on. But I'm glad that you have done it, and therefore, of course, as we expand, because as we said, we are looking at, of course, 20,000 immediately. And then, of course, so tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a acquaintance, tell a sister, tell a brother, tell a daughter, tell a father, tell, of course, a cousin, and, of course, tell any and everybody across the globe that, of course, the corridor transformation is the place to be from 8 o'clock every night except on a Friday night, 8 o'clock, yes, including Saturday and Sunday, but not, of course, on a Friday night. But clearly, And that is the way we must go. Of course, I noticed that, of course, even when we were on the ground report on the night before, we saw where, of course, the police service was forced, of course, to have a press conference to address the very issues that we raised here, such as, of course, the current, of course, to be tomorrow acting commissioner, who claimed that he spoke to wanting to be the commissioner of police, and while that one cannot vex with him for being ambitious, but if he assisted in orchestrating the demise or the exit of the current commissioner of police to satisfy his agenda, then of course that is unholy, that is not spiritual, and you will not, of course, prosper as a consequence, as we have seen unfolding now, because the DPP has literally rejected them as far as attempting to charge Ula Christopher is concerned, and of course, Best, the man who was formerly the head of the SSA. That being as it may, a pleasant good night to Mr. Point 14.
Hey, Lennox Smith, pleasant good night to you and everybody on the live.
Yes, man.
Lennox, I just want to verify something here. Your last caller there, wait till he call and say what was the problem on the Facebook?
People, of course, are using obscene language and so on. They are typing in obscene language.
Oh, I thought he said you couldn't text on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think he did. He said that as well. I find that strange that they're using obscene language, but just
and I was texting.
Yeah.
But the texting working.
All right, good. So you have confirmed that. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, just call us to confirm that now.
Okay. Right, okay. Right. So people can get on, they can, of course, make their contribution that way. Go ahead.
Right, well, I listened for the information what Mr. Arima said that he had to present.
Yes.
So I locked on and listening.
Yes, my friend. We will be very short with the police tonight. I just wanted to make the point that, of course, the circumstances under which Burroughs was, in fact, charged is different to what is happening now with Ula Christopher. And I want to say, too, that could have happened as well because the Prime Minister at the time, the law didn't change yet, the Prime Minister at the time had the prerogative to, of course, employ solely a commissioner of police or reject. So that's a big difference there in terms of the law and the process or the procedure. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Going once, going twice. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. You are live. All right. Of course, that person might have gotten the butterfly, so to speak. You know, people do that when they are confronted with a situation that prior to that they felt uncomfortable with, but when they actually, of course, pursue it in spite of the uncomfortableness, they chicken out. But that being as it may, don't feel embarrassed or anything like that. No, I don't know who you are first and foremost, but secondly, I want to say whether it's green verb, blue verb, just speak as you would normally speak once you can communicate, except, of course, using obscenity. We will, of course, accommodate. So don't believe that you have to have a command of the well, in this case, the king's language, so to speak, the English language. Yes, that means after all, where I come from as a teacher, they say that, of course, the English language is a foreign language. Yeah, because it's our dialect, is what is our first language, which, of course, young and impressionable toddlers, etc., are exposed to before. But of course, that is more a position of some, because I mean, let's face it, there are young people who grow up in a particular environment that, of course, attempts to speak only, of course, what I consider to be grammatically correct English. All right. That being as it may, boy, I was about to move on when this call came, but go ahead, Professor. Good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, Uncle Lennox, can't see, sir.
Yes, man.
You see all the problems we have in, all the issues, all the irregularities within the government from 2015 to now. the main player, all these things were taking place and everything. You see, we don't have a speaker of the house who neutral. And you see, once you have a speaker of the house on a particular side, that is the result of it. You understand?
Yeah.
And that is the price we paying. I don't think I agree with me. Listen.
No, I agree. Let me say up front, I was waiting for you to finish, but yes, I agree. If you want me to respond immediately, yes, I agree.
Yeah, so that is my contribution for tonight.
All right, thank you very much, of course. Yes, indeed. And that has been an issue that has been and must be looked at, because it's a small society, let's face it. A limited number of persons that of course may well be qualified or are willing, of course, to take on the responsibility, in this case, of course, of a speaker. But generally, what I believe is lacking in Trinidad and Tobago's politics and our leaders is integrity, honesty, and a principle of right and wrong. If they adhere to these, what I consider traditional values of right and wrong, then we would have a better working governmental system than having, of course, to always, every time somebody go awry, you bring in a new law in order to stem that, and somebody find another loophole, and so it goes on. But if you have people with integrity, if you have people with a sense of right and wrong, if you have persons with character that is beyond reproach, that they would do things fairly and without fear of contradiction, because they are fair. But when you have dishonorable people seeking the honorable offices that are available for public occupation, then the only thing could result is what Rowley has brought to the politics and his government. Evil, wickedness, senseless violence, and of course, avarice and greed and abuse of office and our resources. Let's go to the lines. President, good night. Welcome. President, good night. Welcome.
Hello.
Yes.
Good
you
night.
calling from?
No. 70 success. What happened is I called it just now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what I called from a different phone. Yeah.
Caller, just hold on. Lavatil is on the line. Go ahead. Go ahead, Lavatil.
Yeah, I'll be very short as possible. Listen. I now get to understand that. Remember, we only want to bring the CARICOM observers into our politics to observe the next elections, right?
Yes.
Right. Well, you know who's the head of that? Who's an important player in this matter? Libo wife.
Well, there's nothing. Once he said only CARICOM, we knew that there was always something sinister up his sleeve. The man is predictable to the core. So I am not surprised. Though I don't have the information, I'm going to check on it. But certainly, I am not surprised, because I was going to look for where the opportunity is for him to have an unfair advantage. Because notice, he don't want Carter Foundation. He don't want, of course, the UN entity that is responsible for those things. You don't want it to come from Europe. You don't want the Commonwealth, even the Commonwealth Secretariat, of which we are a part. So I don't know that there was something sinister. It's just a matter of time. And thank you very much, of course, for giving us a heads up at this time.
Yeah, check it out. I go on. God bless.
Thank you very much for that piece of information. But let's go straight into what I consider to be the handset to hear, of course, this caller. Let me just make sure we are on speaker. What's the problem?
Lennox.
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Lennox, Raj is here from Orlando.
Yes, Raj. Go ahead, Raj.
I just heard a caller talk about the Speaker of the House, right?
Yes.
Right. I know we select a Speaker. We don't elect a Speaker. But I look at the English Parliament in England. And the last party was the other party, right?
Yes.
Whatever, right? And the party that won the Speaker of the House was that party, and the Labour Party come out won election, and they select the same Speaker of the House to be the Speaker of the House. Because you was right, the Speaker of the Parliament in England have integrity.
That is what I'm talking about, and therefore that will, of course, because that person will obviously now be balanced, they will be fair, and of course any side of the aisle or the political divide will want such a person, of course, to preside over a significant institution such as the Parliament.
It's true, yeah, because I watch the Parliament channel in England when I'm at my job, I go through and I look at a lot
blatant and clear biases. You're telling some people to sit down if they are in opposition, and then of course you're allowing the Prime Minister to run away and not even a slap on the shoulder on the wrist. You're simply acceding to him, and if it is that you cannot control him, you then of course take an adjournment, and all of that. I mean, it is pathetic.
Yeah, and the guy is so fair for both sides, even the Labour Party and the Party, the other party. The guy worked for both sides. I saw when the Labour Party Steinman won election and he was talking. They voted, all his members, they voted.
Yeah, obviously, because he has demonstrated that objectivity and that non-partisan position, and of course making decisions that are in the best interests of all the players and maintaining the integrity of the Parliament. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy is not for party, the guy is for country. I don't know why we don't have.
Unfortunately, since Tomasas, you remember Tomasas? I used to go in the Parliament or used to hear him, when he was, of course, biased towards, of course, Eric William, and you could hear him, you could feel it. And I was a little child at the time, a little boy watching these things, and I said, but this man, why these are allowed to say this, and the same thing the other side cannot allow to say it, or they are cut short, and the government side is allowed, Eric William and them allowed, of course, free reign in terms of time and all of that. Although there are overall constraints to time that you could occupy the floor.
The PNM party is really a cult, I mean, honest, some little going on by
well, I prefer to say that is a criminal enterprise. Look at what happened
to the Commissioner of Police. Look what happened to Randall. Look at what happened to the lady who burned up in the fire. Yeah. Something is wrong with the PNM. It's always at the end of the career, the PNM career, there's somebody always throws somebody under the bus, or something is always happening.
That is why it's a criminal enterprise to me. It's not a cult.
Because they're so corrupt, they never die in peaceful and harmony. Yeah. It's always something, and they always die unexpected
some kind of questionable death.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks again, brother.
Yes, no problem. Yes, indeed. Let me just take this call. Pleasant good night, Mr. Trincity. Of course, just to conclude that yes, it is about integrity, and that of course the PNM, in my view, is not a cult. It is a criminal enterprise that operates very much like a mafia, and you can't say a mafia is a cult, even though of course they have a loyalty that of course is so solid to the leaders, etc. But it cannot be deemed as a cult. A cult is a different story, because tell Rowley to ask any one of the sycophants and them to go and kill themselves, go and throw themselves over some rock, some cliff, and see if they're going to do it. They're not a cult. It is a criminal enterprise, and selfish and about
that's
themselves.
True.
Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes. Pleasant good night. Good night, everyone. Miss Santa Cruz, Miss Arima, Tagarigua, and I think with East Laventille, I believe. Lennox, as usual, dashing this evening. So I guess like you come through bold and beautiful, as it is say, with all these different aspects of what going on in this country, madman thing, as it is say.
Yes.
Well, I just want to know what is really going on with the former, the the original or the X, because right now it's like it's like we playing draft. So it's just a moving. We just keep moving forward, pulling back, moving forward, sliding, do all kind of wheelie thing. Because 1 minute you're hearing she get fired, 1 minute she gonna sue the state. Next thing next thing you hear now they have more evidence. They're going to the DPP. So what it is really going on with these people on them? So I guess we could finally say that they're trying to hide in both now. They're trying to hide him. So they're bringing it up more now for we to discuss it, but it's something that need to be discussed because we don't have a commissioner of police.
Yes.
But what is I want to say now?
Caller, just hold on. Mr. Trincity is on the line.
Yeah, 1 second before I get off.
Yes.
Again, let me talk about this Jamaica entity that just came on the airwaves again now, which concerning the oil refinery that them have now, saying that they have. Now, if you watch the body language of that person who mentioned it, the official over there,
yes,
he laughing all the way to the bank and saying, "Look at them stupid."
And why not?
Right? I feel to be honest with you, I feel really embarrassed. You understand?
Of course, you must be
so
as a national. Yeah, you must be. And,
yes.
And the rubbing it in your face. They say that Trinidad
yes.
once was, and they have oil.
Yes.
But yesterday they importing, of course, fuel from us. I mean, that is embarrassing. Yeah. Having regard to 100
I feel bad.
years.
Me know about nobody in this country, but I feel bad.
Yes.
Right? I feel unreal. So I go on. If I go and put pen and paper, I never do that. You know, I go and put pen and paper and talk to Kamala and tell she, look, we have to get we all refinery up and running. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the experience, and let me get them more pressure. We go get them pressure and find the market, and we'll get you back to the market, because we need to shut them down. Because we ain't playing games. Because if the US decide to say, well, China had to come out of it, they will get shut down sooner or later. So we gotta have we game coming back up and just waiting on that right timing to get back on the market. And the last thing I need to say, is that in the agricultural department, let me get we sugar, let me get we cocoa, let me get we coconut, let me get all of the other different things back up on stream, all the rice and whatever. And let me see if we could start a next generation of good living for we to live better. All right, Lennox? So yes, I will listeners know fair.
Yes,
and
yes.
Everybody have agree with me? Boy, I feel real bad. Right now, I want to cry now.
I hear
just
you, my
man laughing at you.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Thank you very much, of course. I agree that, of course, if Trump is saying that he wants to make America again, and therefore, of course, is pursuing what I should say analysts will see as isolationist policy or agenda, then we should be doing the same. And I'm saying that in the context of because we are talking here, and we must talk about energy security, and we must talk about food security. Those are the 2 points that, of course, the former caller did, in fact, indicate to us. Energy security, we must have that. No country in the world could, of course, go without some policy as far as the readily and cheap availability of energy. Whether to drive, whether to, of course, see in the night, whether it be to, of course, turn the fans or the air conditioning units. Energy security, and then food security, because we must eat. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox, from caller from mover.
Good night, my friend.
We need to revalidate. We need to revalidate patriotics bid, get it revalidated, right?
Yes, man.
Thursday and Friday here.
Stay tuned tonight, and you will see. But go ahead, yes.
Night. This Thursday and Friday, the evaluation committee will be looking at the 3 bids, right? And then they will decide on who will be the preferred bidder or whatever, right?
Good.
And I believe my feelings is that they will try to make an announcement before Dr. will resign. You understand? So we have little time. We have a window of opportunity to get patriotic, to stand up for patriotic, to see that the bid is being revalidated. Because like I'm saying, Stuart Young can't just go in Parliament and make an announcement and crush dreams. And crush dreams and aspirations just so.
Yes.
Right? And he said he was coming out of Parliament and make this statement. He never did that. Right? And that is unacceptable, right? So we have to stand up for patriotic. We have somebody that can represent us. in terms of the refinery.
Right.
And we have to make use of that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, my friend, for that focused and that focused niche that you focus on every night and every opportunity on the corridor transformation. Present good night, Ms. Santa Cruz. Go ahead. Our external, of course, correspondence.
Good night, Lennox. Good night to you and to everybody out there. Lennox,
hey.
There's so much development, right? You know, tonight was the pavement report.
Yes.
So we had to listen in on the pavement report.
Nothing wrong with that.
Lennox,
yes.
And tonight, Dr. Bodo laid out a whole lot of plans and development that a UNC government have for the health service.
Beautiful.
And you see, from tomorrow, you're going to hear people saying, we want the Kamala manifesto. What Kamala doing about this? What Kamala doing about health? What Kamala doing? You will hear them. You will hear them. And he laid out a whole lot of things. Lennox, I took it in. It was intense, and the things that he was talking about to improve our health system, especially, Lennox, for cancer patients. Because I can tell you, cancer patients are suffering under this PNM government.
Oh yes. As our
yes.
cerebral palsy, as our those non-communicable disease, apart from the communicable disease ones, because when we saw it in very poignantly in COVID, when of course 5,000 persons would have lost their lives as a result of the level of incompetence and the inability, of course, to manage COVID. So I'm not surprised. But go ahead.
But Lennox, you know, as you mentioned, the COVID, if some of us didn't take our health into our own hands, we might have been a statistics, and it might have been 10,000.
Oh, yes.
Because we did not listen. I did not listen to the Minister of Health because he was useless, right? Because from the beginning, we were listening to ABC and all those sites. And you can bet your bottom dollar, every time ABC and M had a press conference, you would hear the same exact thing from D.L. Singh and his cohorts, right? We will listen to them, and that is how when my children tell me to come and go and take the vaccine, I told them no. Today I am seeing people that I know took the vaccine, elderly people, Lennox, and they are suffering. Right? They are suffering.
And incredulously, they keep telling us that they were pursuing the science, and of course rubbish going in the sunlight and so on. I mean, common sense will tell you that if you are in heat, viruses can't take that kind of pressure. But of course, if you're in a cold room temperature environment, certainly, of course, they will flourish there in the billions. If it was supposed to be millions, yeah.
Yeah, Lennox, it was circulating, and they were putting the people in the air-conditioned rooms, and that is what was causing it as well. And according to what Mikey always said, when they go under that white tent, they were not looking after the people, Lennox.
Yeah, and therefore everybody was open who have COVID, who don't have COVID. It turned out to be a shambolic thing. Nobody knew if to go to the regular hospital or go to the designated, of course, parallel system, because everything seemed to have been commingled at one point in time because people were desperate. There were no respirators. They run out of respirators. They had to depend on the Americans, of course, to support them with respect to that. And then they had to wait for shipment to come in because they simply weren't prepared. All of those administrative baloney they were engaged in, and they're telling us that somehow they were number one in the world. But of course, all of us know that that is similar to the emails. False, fake, and of course, of no effect, and dangerous, however. Go ahead.
Lennox, they saved us. Dr. Rowley saved us, and according to a big fool like Penelope Beckles, with his scientific knowledge, and I quote it, with his scientific knowledge, he was able to save the people of the country. That's why they kick she. That is why they kick she, Lennox. Anyway, Lennox, moving on.
And the other Joseph.
Yeah,
Tommy Joseph in one. Yeah, that is how they come across that way. All of them. You see what is unfolding, of course, in the police service now.
Yes.
I mean, there's a bunch of a person that needs to be lampooned and, of course, caricatured. Yeah.
But Lennox, what is getting even more and more interesting is this thing with the Petrojam.
Yes.
Right? Now we are hearing, but we know Jamaica solely owns Petrojam, right?
Yes.
There's nothing about PDVSA or anybody owning anything. They own solely Petrojam, right?
Yes, yes.
But we also asking who is the preferred bankers of Petrojam. We get to find out that NCB Global, right, is one of their favorite bankers. Who is affiliated to NCB Global? The Young family.
Yes.
So we are asking, is because Georgia come with some tomfoolery that is strengthening ties with CARICOM, right? Strengthen what ties with CARICOM? Who they're fooling? They're strengthening the family ties, filling their family pockets, Lennox.
Yeah.
They're fooling nobody. And that is why tonight Saddam Hussein revealed something. And we saw where Mrs. Prasad Bissessa last week sent a media release to the media telling them that although she welcomed the CARICOM observers, we want international observers
14,
as well.
she said,
because
16 or 14 of them is she communicated with. Yes.
Right. And we got to find out tonight that somehow Reginald Amo's wife, Elizabeth Solomon, is affiliated to the CARICOM Observers Committee.
Beautiful.
I don't know if she's a chairman or whatever it is, right?
I mentioned that earlier. So, and I told him, it's no surprise, Rowley always does things, not only to get an unfair advantage as far as the electoral process is concerned, as he's obsessed, of course, with undermining, but also he wants an unfair advantage, and therefore he will engage in these kind of what I consider to be shenanigans and charades to give the impression that somehow he is a Democrat, when in fact he is engaged, of course, in a criminal behavior, frankly, in, of course, trying to undermine and, of course, upset the electoral process in this country. We will have none of it.
But we'll have none of it, no, Lennox, because you see how it's coming out, Lennox?
Yes.
You see how it is coming out?
So we know why she's
affiliated.
wanted that. Yes. We know why.
Imagine your Attorney General wife is, I'll call her the chairman of the committee, right? Your Attorney General, right? How will we get a fair election, Lennox? This will end up just like Guyana. And you see how Trinidad trying to insert themselves into Guyana elections.
Yeah, we have a duty as institutions, as individuals, as concerned citizens, as patriots, to, of course, and as I said, we have already put a dossier together to send to the State Department on these very matters. So this will just be added as an addendum to, of course, that development, because the State Department, not that they don't know, but of course we need to make them to confirm, because just now you will get a video with, of course, Marco Rubio about his Latin American trip and how they feel about Venezuela and Cuba. Of course, there were more like Iran and so on, but I thought I should only select those two because they impact on us in Trinidad here.
But Lennox, before I go I want to remind the people, you remembered what Rowley did with the Commonwealth observers?
Yes.
That he lied and said that they had no money to come, and if they had come, they would not be
able to participate
time.
Anyway, yes, because they would have come. They had to stay.
Right. But Lennox, if they are coming, you remember they are traveling. They would have gotten clearance to travel to
yes, they sent proposal.
They would not have to stay 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, they would not have to stay 2 weeks in quarantine, right? And you see how he lied about them? We are waiting to see what lies he's going to put down now if these people decided that they want to come here. Lennox, thanks a lot and have a good night. You take care.
Yes, indeed. Some fantastic development. And at this stage, I want to commend, of course, you callers. You are doing your patriotic duty. You must keep them on the P's and Q's. This is democracy in motion. Government by the people, of the people. Come on, we are the people. And that small group of individuals can't outsmart us. they are nincompoops and fools and believe. Let them believe so. As we, of course, send them to their respective political graves come the next elections, no matter what they try. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Hey. Loud and clear, my friend.
Are you hearing me? Hello?
There's somebody else there too, boy.
Hello?
Like you have two persons on this line.
New York, New York, New York, New York, New York.
New York. All right. Hear what Tagariga, call back and let New York go ahead now, because like we have two persons on the line. Okay. All right. Go ahead, New York.
Okay. Hear what's going on in Trinidad right now. Loud and clear. Suzette Martin.
Yes.
That's you all accomplished to bring down Ola. Junior Benjamin, he will be the acting commissioner of police from tomorrow.
Yes.
Breaking news. We just had Netanyahu from Israel together with Trump. Trump just said that he is going to do whatever it takes to the world. You hear me?
Go ahead. I didn't hear the last part of your statement.
I said Trump had a news conference with Israel Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's a new, yes.
Right. And he said that whatever it takes to keep the world stable, he will go for it. He will do whatever it takes.
All right.
To have the world stable.
Right, okay, good.
And I told you again, Junior Benjamin and Suzette Martin. Junior Benjamin will be your Commissioner of Police.
Yes.
In the Parliament, they will pass
tomorrow,
it.
Yes, tomorrow they have this debate, yes.
Yes, they will pass it.
Yes.
And Suzette Martin, that's the rat in the TTPS.
Yes, that much we focused on, and they are very uncomfortable, but there's nothing they can do about it. The facts are the facts, and when we look at the common sense nexus to, of course, the orchestration of the movement, the moving of the Prime Minister, the moving of the Commissioner of Police, but of course, and trying to isolate the political directorate, whether it be Stuart Young, whether it be Rowley, we know that there's something sinister afoot. Thank you very much.
Ola was the fall woman.
Yes. She was dethroned, and of course, and she was also the thorn in their sides. All right. Anything else? Yeah, we have quite a lot, so we have to continue. I thank you.
Okay.
Let's see what is happening here, where I could get this thing organized. Let me see. All right, caller, call back. All right, let me see what's happening here. Trying my best to get that call, boy. All right, caller, call back. I'm getting some difficulty in engaging. All right, what's this? What's this one? We have another. We have another call on this line. Okay, no. All right. So I think enough is said about, of course, Ola, and of course we know that tomorrow the Junior Benjamin will be the man, and there's another, of course, acting person with him. We'll wait and see if that, of course, is the fact. But let's go straight, of course, to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hello, Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
I've got to talk now, right?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
What guarantee you have that if Rowley tell them people jump over a cliff, them ain't going to do it?
Because Trinidadians are not that stupid.
What? Because what's going on here now?
They love the carnival, they love the Christmas, etc. Rowley could go that far. That is why I say that it cannot be a cult. It's a criminal enterprise. They wouldn't mind, of course, not voting or absorbing the nonsense he speak because, of course, for a little dollar and so on. But certainly, tell them go and kill themselves. I think that is far-fetched, too far-fetched.
Why, you know, but anyhow.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something.
They
have a Charles Atlas in this world.
Yes.
Remember Charles Atlas? He was a perfect specimen of a human being.
Yes.
He had nothing wrong with it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the world, everybody has some kind of problem, some comorbidity as you call it.
Yes.
But this government had already planned that they bringing in no drugs. People were living on drugs, Lennox. They have blood pressure, they had tablets for that. So people could survive with all the comorbidities that they had.
Yes.
But this government had done plan, they may bring in no drugs.
Yeah, because they wouldn't tell us how much they pay for whatever they say they would have had available or brought in. Up to now, we don't know. But Commission of Inquiry will bring out what is in the dark. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the whole plan was not to bring nothing, and to bring the vaccine. And then somebody they say they had comorbidities. The point I'm making is this. You could live with anything that you have, you know. I know about cancer, but whatever wrong with you, a little diabetes, whatever, no. They had the drug for it. People were living on that. But they don't plan them to bring no drugs. They bring the vaccine, and when they take it there, they say it was suffering from this comorbidity. That was the scheme.
I hear you. I will not put it beyond them.
But enough. You name me a perfect man in Trinidad. Everybody was surviving with a drug. Go ahead, doctor, you need this. You're getting it in the drugstores. Under Kamla. They stop it. And bring the vaccine to write off people.
Well, even now, of course, CDAP is dysfunctional.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah. They, especially for the senior citizens in the country, it's as though the very people that kept them in office for so long, like they target them to kill them out.
Yeah, and let me tell you something too, If it wasn't for drugstores right now, Lennox, give people credit until they get a little pension check or whatever. Everybody dead, you know.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm telling you. Now I don't have everybody getting the people a little buy until month, whatever they get now.
Right.
And then they pay.
Right.
But on that camera, you had every possible job to keep you going.
Oh yes, indeed, because it was people-centered focus, and of course recognizing that the resources belong to the people, and they simply are custodians, and they just distributed it because they have the authority so to do. These fellas believe, Rowley, and they believe that it belongs to them, and that a 1% of the population can just absorb all of that with no consequences to them. That is why, of course, they are attempting, of course, to try to steal the next elections in order, of course, to stay there, in order to continue with that, what I consider to be awful, barbaric and self-serving habit.
But they can't get through that
of course not. The 39 seats in Trinidad for the UNC and Kamala Prasad Bisesa. That is clear. And I warn, and I at the same time admonish the Lavantills to get on board and be on the right side of history, including, of course, Diego Martin West. Including Diego Martin West and all of the Diego Martins and the entire blasted East-West corridor and the country where constituencies are located.
Well, why I will put more faith in Lavantil than the people in Diego Martin West.
I hear you, my friend.
Yeah, I live down there. The people totally brainwashed down there, you know.
Yeah, but they didn't have a ground report. They didn't have, at the time, a corridor transformation. They didn't have a Lennox Smith. They didn't have a Mikey, Andy, and so many others who, of course, followed suit after. So we know that is a different dynamics altogether. And, of course, information. Yeah.
I hope they listen every day.
Yes.
Right? as I tell you, I used to live next door to these permanent secretaries of Johnny Waller.
Yes, man.
Up to today, his friend and me is best of friends.
Right.
But I only tell you the scheme with that COVID vaccine. Because they don't plan, they no blast drugs to the people.
Yeah. Well, we would have examined that post facto and realized that that was one of it. But they would have, because they would have utilized the resources for their own agenda. But yes, we'll have to come to an end now. We'll have to come to an end. All right? Yeah. Okay. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Pleasant night to you, Mr. Lennox, and all those interesting people on your chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking sharp as a razor there, boy.
well, you have, of course, Marco Rubio with us.
You only suiting up so every,
yeah.
You only suiting up so every night. What you seen?
What?
Oh, you only suiting up like that every night?
Well, practice make perfect.
Well, I know you had the brains. I know you had the brains to go with the bronze.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you.
Yeah,
but of course, before that is gold and silver. So I take it all.
Nice.
All three. Yes.
Earlier when I heard you were speaking about integrity.
Yes.
Don't forget the People Solution Character Education Program overviewed that I give to you.
Yes, I certainly will.
I remember message you on WhatsApp, right? Don't feel I forget you, Lennox. Me forget you,
You ought not.
You understand?
You ought not, because you'll be doing it at your own, what I can say, disregard. So you're better, because, of course, I'm only human and I can falter. So, but you are there, of course, to keep me on the straight and narrow.
All right. One of the things I'd like to point out is that when the UNC gets in power, right now, having education, there are moral education and academics. The only way that you can accomplish moral education, right, is to be taught, right? And a lot of people are only taught academics and lacking moral education, which is respect, responsibility, honesty. And yet still we apply the title honorable this and honorable that. With that being said, here what I would like to see concerning Petrojam. That refinery in Jamaica was built in 1964 by ESSO.
That's right, man. Yes. You have it, man, because I was going to mention the introduction part. So thank you, of course, for preempting. But go ahead. Very good. Yes. By ESSO, that's
Trinidad's refinery was built in 1917.
Yeah.
But here what is kind of progging my mind. This whole concept about Jamaica buying the raw material from Trinidad and refining it and selling it back to Trinidad. At this rounds, there is nothing that you could left to chance. Right? Even your own shadow could deceive you. The question is, what about if there was a deal that was cut between the Prime Minister of Jamaica and the Prime Minister of Trinidad to close down Petrotrin so Jamaica could be able to refine our oil? I'm just speculating,
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
Right? To refine our oil and sell it back to us at a price, 90 million US, which is the equivalent to about 15 billion Jamaican dollars. You understand where I'm going with this?
No, yeah. And it brings me back to an earlier comment by someone, but go ahead. Go ahead, yes.
Miss Santa Cruz was heading in that direction.
Yes.
Where she sort of like was going into something like that, right? But to have the full information about what is taking place, don't leave it up to chance to say that it's not a possibility that there was a deal that was cut. Let me give you a list of certain things that the Prime Minister wants to be reminded of. You ready for it?
Yes, go ahead, my friend.
All right. 4 dead in the pipeline. MP and children died in fire. Over 500,000 murdered in 10 years. 2.6 billion can't give account for. Top cop arrested. Coast Guard boat pack up. Property tax. Hiking in salaries. Confusion at SSA. SOE disaster. Closing of Petrotrin. Dead people arriving in boats. Venice killing and robbing. SRP Kate gone with millions. Chase Village. The Shaguanas Highway Project. Deadbeat. The Balaje Hotel debacle. Bad roads. Old age pension. Email gate 34. Over 5,000 people died from COVID. Unfinished San Fernando waterfront project. The mosquito crack. Nikwan collapse. Seabridge collapse. You hear me? No drugs in the hospital. High food prices. Taking laptops from children. Closing down of learning facilities. Interfering with merit lists. Appointing a PNM president. Mr. Lennox, that is what the Prime Minister wants us to remember him for. Have a blessed night, you and all those on the chat.
And I'm sure it is not an inexhaustive list. You have more to add. That's all?
My hand get tired right now.
I could well imagine, my friend. But of course, I think you are doing human service to not just the corridor, but certainly, of course, to the international and regional and domestic audience in that level of work that you would have, of course, engaged in order to remind us of the realities that is the Rowley Fowl administration. Thank you very much for that list. And as I say, inexhaustive. Thank you very much. Of course, yes, people. Of course, we have, of course, the video on the screen so far. I thought I should introduce it one time and take off, of course, and cut that matter of Erla to, of course, bring you what Marco Rubio has said recently. Only yesterday, I believe this interview would have been with, of course, the Fox channel, one of the major networks in the United States. Just take our boy. All right, let's see if we could quickly dispose of this call, and then, of course, we will start with Mike, with Marco, of course, Rubio, and his trip to Latin America. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, pleasant good night again. Lennox.
Yes.
I know get as a ledger. I know get something inside the basket of destruction. Well, they're saying that when they start the patching of the holes, them potholes on them. Look out, the election will be coming in soon.
Yes.
So I don't know how true.
No, it's true. That's how the PNM operates, and when they of course, they will not have an opportunity to be in central government on this occasion. But when they're in central government, they do that. They give a 50 million one way, a 50 million, another 50 million.
Yeah, I think they
to Tobago, and when they would have lost devastatingly in Tobago, they then take back everything that wasn't used.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So
you're absolutely
it's a bunch
right.
of criminals. That can be no cult. That's a criminal gang. That's a mafia gang.
I'm telling you, but
utilizing our money to satisfy their pernicious and evil greed.
Well, it's a ledger that when you always see that something to could go roll it out, eh?
Yeah. We know the pattern of behavior.
So
we know that.
When they're rolling out that
PNM playbook.
I think that's one of their playbook. I know get some win night, so
that's the bonus operandi. We know that we are not unaware or in any way and neither are we impressed because the minds are made up, and as I say, the Laventils be on the right side of history on this occasion, and of course 39 seats for the UNC, and of course Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and let us of course get rid once and for all of this pernicious, evil, diabolical, and of course criminal as well as a mafia-oriented group of individuals led by a total rapist and pedophile called Keith Christopher Rowley. The PNM, I think you are now cursed to damnation. But let's go straight, of course, to Marco Rubio and, of course, his tour of Latin America recently, and of course what he had to say about Venezuela and Cuba.
They've released American prisoners. Maduro doesn't seem like
Secretary Rubio.
Now, Venezuela is taking back migrants that the Trump administration is deporting. They've released American prisoners. Maduro doesn't seem like the type of person to be doing things just out of the goodness of his heart to help the United States. Is this administration going to recognize Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela?
There's no talks about doing that. No one's discussed it. We don't recognize him now. What he's agreed to is very simple. He's released Americans that should never have been in his prisons. They were hostages. They're not prisoners. They were hostages. He takes them for trade. And he's going to accept, especially these trained at agua criminals. We'll see if he actually does it. I hope they do. We got to get these people out of our country. They came from Venezuela, came through a bunch of other countries, wound up here, committing crimes in the United States. He pushed those people out of his country. He emptied out his jails and prisons and pushed them into other countries and towards the United States, and he's going to have to take them back. I think leaders like Maduro, no matter how tough they try to be, they respect Donald Trump. They know this is not a guy who's going to send you a strongly worded letter. He will take actions. I'm not going to talk about what those actions are, but he knows and they know we have many options to inflict serious damage and harm on the Maduro regime if they don't do what international law requires them to do, and that is accept their foreign nationals who are illegally in this country, especially those who are criminals. That's the priority, the criminals.
The final question, and I think it's a very good place to answer. Do you see yourself as the representative of the United States government ever going to Havana?
Well, first of all, I have no intention of going to Havana with this regime in place other than to discuss when they're going to leave. That regime is a disaster. It's destroyed the country. It's turning Cuba into a nursing home. Sadly, the only people that don't leave are the ones that are too old or too sick to leave. They've lost 10, 12% of their population just in the last 3 years. They're incompetent and they're evil, that regime. And they're also a threat to the United States. They've invited China to open spy bases. They invite Russia in. They're partners with Iran. They just joined a partnership with South Africa to support Hamas at the expense of Israel. That isn't a government, that is a regime that is hostile to the United States. And so until that changes, there's nothing for me to talk about with them.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So that was the very latest from Secretary Rubio speaking with Fox News about his agenda in South America. And then on the left side of your screen, we had the live events and top stories we are following on this Tuesday. Speaking of Secretary Rubio, though, I want to give you all the latest tweet that came down on X. You see it there on your screen. It says, quote, met the staff of our U.S. Embassy, who, like many of the individuals working in embassies and consulates worldwide, are the face of our country. As I said when I entered the State Department for the first time, it is an honor and a privilege to oversee such a talented diplomatic corps. Secretary Rubio.
Yes, indeed, people. But there you have it. What does that say? It says that Rowley, the PNM, the government that he holds, the lame duck government that has of necessity and inevitable departure, the inevitability of their departure is imminent. That is what that tells me. That was today. Notice they said it Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Just came back, of course, from a Latin American trip. And of course, he spoke about a number of other Latin American countries, but we have an interest in finding out what is their position with Venezuela, because this government has placed all of our financial and future eggs, including, of course, earning foreign exchange, in the Maduro administration. And every year, we are committed to a million, or is it 100 million, whatever it is, $1 billion to provide them until, of course, the elusive dragon gas and the other cross-border, what I consider to be fossil fuel comes into our control and within, of course, our system, whether it be gas or oil. Well, we have no oil refinery, so we can't refine. But of course, that is ominous. That is belligerent talk. That is a war against, of course, Venezuela on their own volition. Notice that they asking for OAS, you know. They asking CARICOM, you know. CARICOM could say how much they want about, of course, the Trinidad or the Caribbean being, of course, a zone of peace. That argument will be in pieces at the appropriate time. So notice, Maduro has decided to, of course, send out all of the Americans from there, and that is an appeasement of the Americans. And of course, as Marco Rubio said, Trump in writing nothing. And when he speaks, they know it's action, because an ounce of action is better than a pound of talk. And of course, something in writing. Of course, he was mocking Biden when Biden sent a strong letter. No strong letter talk. So for Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela and associated therewith is bad news. Venezuela is persona non grata. But yet still, there is no condemnation by Rowley of the Maduro administration, particularly in the area of human rights violation, the violation of which we are feeling just as the United States have, and they are taking care of their situation by expelling Venezuelans that are undocumented. We still have them here and documenting them by giving them, of course, regularized, what I consider to be IDs, etc. Registration, they call it. Well, Kamala Persad-Bissessar has taken a similar position to that of Trump by saying that once the UNC gets into office, we cannot afford the parasitic nature imposed upon us by Maduro and Rowley and the PNM, absorbing these people and groveling and condescending to Maduro to get some, of course, gas. I remembered very distinctly, and that is why I have absolute and total, and you should as well, confidence in Kamala Persad-Bissessar that she would do what she says and says what she does. Because she talked about, of course, stand your ground legislation to roll back, of course, the criminal elements from invading your castle, your homes. But then, in 2011, when she instituted the state of emergency, Vice Rowley was a bleeding heart. Oh, he loves African youths, and that was targeting them, and that therefore it was a bad thing to do, and that he felt so sorry for them. But of course, all of us knew that it was the Africans that are occupying some 95% of the prisons in this country, and they would, as they are today, they were in 2011. But no. Because he wanted to generate some kind of sympathy, and therefore the pseudo-racist agenda was rife and, of course, being expounded by Rowley, by those kinds of false and fake sympathy. So we know. But Kamala Persad-Bissessar said, when he was opposed, Rowley was opposed to the SOE, saying that no, you don't need a SOE to deal with crime and criminality. Of course, we know now that was hogwash and diatribe, but it is what Kamala said. Kamala said, because they make the same argument today that the economy will be affected. She said in non-certain terms then, when a SOE with a curfew to address the problem of crime. She said that you could make all the money in the world, and if you live to spend it, it's waste of time. Oh, what a wonderful, rational, and of course, potent reason for having the state of emergency of the type that she instituted at that time. What a wonderful, but this nincompoop, this asinine specimen of inhumanity, this ne'er-do-well, this rapscallion, this, of course, total and absolute cognitive and conscientious criminal, rapist and pedophile are telling us today that he doesn't want to interfere with the economy. But Kamala said, no, you can have much money you want, but there is no economy to be interfered with in the context of Rowley and the Trinidad and Tobago and the PNM at this point in time. There's none. So probably he can afford to talk that hogwash because it is of inconsequence. It is ocious and nonsensical, as we have seen stereotypically of this government. So the die has been cast, and therefore we know that Maduro will not be countenanced or tolerated, and therefore we are on our way to, of course, further deterioration of our circumstance if we allow Rowley and the PNM, of course, to continue in office and to hold the offices that they now occupy. And we have a duty and responsibility to jettison them out of blasted office and annihilate the PNM to the dustbin of political history. That is where we should be going and must be going. But let us get, that too has connotations, of course, for the purchase of bunker fuel from Jamaica and their oil refinery. And listen to Stuart Young. What he did not say demonstrates the level of what I consider to be cognitive and intellectual decline of these people, and that they are out of their depth, and that in spite of all of the experience over time that he would have naturally gained, he continues to be a neophyte. He continues to be a political and diplomatic and negotiator neophyte, because it's only ass talky talking. How dare you say that the oil refinery is smaller, 30,000 barrels in Jamaica, to somehow link that to the reason, the pernicious and the wicked and the lack of national advancement for which they took an oath to protect the integrity and, of course, the advancement of every single citizen in this country, and to make certain that our economic viability remains, of course, at the forefront, so that we can have the quality of life and standard of living based, of course, on the cost of living that we would enjoy because of ambition as a nation and as individuals. I say all that to say that they have betrayed the people, because if it is that you're saying that oil refinery in Jamaica, Petro Jam, is refining 30,000 barrels of oil, and there is no way, of course, in the literature to show that they were refining oil from Trinidad. Let me make it clear. So obviously that they are refining oil from other places. We're going to find out. I'm going to give you all of that detail, because we need to know specifically if they are refining anything from Jamaica. What we know is that they are buying refined products from Jamaica. That is what we know. And the Jamaican oil refinery is a small one in the sense that 30,000 barrels. Well, I say to Stuart Young and they that look at the policy of Jamaica. That oil refinery exists because they said that they want to ensure energy security. Where is the blasted energy security for Trinidad and Tobago? Raw oil, raw crude oil is irrelevant. That does not provide energy security. It's the refined products that provide that when they convert it into oil, greases, aviation fluid, and of course bitumen that we do not have now because of the closing down of Petrotrin. Well, why didn't you, of course, reduce the output of the oil refinery? Was that so difficult to do? Reduce the output if it is that 100,000 barrels you have difficulty in paying. Then, of course, reduce the output of the oil refinery to one that could accommodate maybe the 40-something barrels that we produce here, even though, of course, it's very unlikely that we would use it because of the sulfur content. It's easier to sell it and then, of course, import. At any rate, they feel the bright. Reduce the blasted output of the oil refinery and you're good to go. Why could that be an option? Heinz, Ibsbert, Young, Rowley, why could that be an option? So that you save and you, of course, ensure energy security for Trinidad and Tobago. But no, we have to depend on the output of Jamaican oil refinery. Incidentally, run by the Jamaican government. It's a state-owned enterprise. Rowley say that these entities are closing down. He never told us that Jamaica has one that, of course, is up and running and state-owned. Why? Because the argument would have, of course, been rubbished that they gave. So he talked about, of course, Aruba. But we know that in Aruba, that oil refinery would have been, of course, connected to who? To Maduro and PDVSA, and therefore, it's only natural that it will be suffering for lack of oil because of that connection. Rowley tell me that. Rowley tell us that. We had to find out that for ourselves. That is why I say to you that we are on our own as far as this government is concerned, and we must, of course, relegate them to the dustbin of political history because of their dishonesty. Because of their pernicious, wicked, diabolical, and malicious conduct. And evil to the people who put them there, believing that somehow they can arrogate unto themselves that they got there on their own without, of course, the ordinary fella going to the polls talking about you 18-year-olds. You have a duty and responsibility to get yourself ready to save Trinidad and Tobago because the country you save will be your own. Let us not waste time. And so, the Americans will not countenance Venezuela. And we, therefore, will not get dragon gas. We have to now depend on Jamaica. And we were never told about the ability of Jamaica to refine. Yes, and the caller was correct. In 1966, I believe it was, when, of course, that was purchased by ESSO. But, from ESSO. But more importantly, the previous Trump administration, when they imposed, of course, the sanctions, what Jamaica did, because Venezuela owned 49% of the oil refinery there. And what they did, they compulsorily acquired the 49% so as to fall in line with the Americans and to save their energy security agenda. That is what transpired. You know what I say? I say PDVSA was reluctant to sell the 49% of that oil refinery in Jamaica. And what did the government did? They had a serious debate and they went and compulsorily acquired the 49% so as to satisfy the Americans. And so, of course, make sure that they have an oil refinery to, of course, maintain their agenda for what? For energy security and for a strategic position in terms of earning a foreign exchange by adding to the stock whether it be bauxite and other products coming out from bauxite. That is what has happened. So listen, of course, to Young Now, as he of course tried to deceive us into believing somehow that they are doing some favor to Trinidad and Tobago and to CARICOM. A bunch of nincompoops. Listen to the nonsense.
And ever, Jamaica Petrojam is
Jamaica exporting fuel oil to Trinidad?
For the first time ever, Jamaica Petrojam is exporting fuel to Trinidad and Tobago. And to that we're looking to 1 million barrels of fuel oil, valued at about 90 million US.
Did he just say 1 million barrels? That's Telroy Morgan, the general manager at Petrojam, Jamaica's oil refinery. Now, Jamaica actually doesn't produce oil, but Trinidad does. So this announcement took me completely by surprise. But apparently, Petrotrin has been down since like 2019.
Trinidad, who has oil, their refinery shuttered about 6 years ago, and so they have been importing. But over those many years, Petrojam has been trying to get in, so to speak, and it has finally happened.
Well, that explains Trinidad's foreign exchange issues. They produce oil, but they don't refine it anymore, so they're exporting it raw and about to buy it back refined from Jamaica.
I want you to note, there's no indication that they were buying any oil, crude oil from Trinidad. What we're producing as Rowley and them boasting with respect, of course, to heritage. None.
Apparently this batch is some special marine fuel, though.
It's a fuel mainly for marine vessels, tankers.
But still, the
let's go straight to the line in the meantime. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
Yeah, pleasant night again. Me again.
Yes, go ahead, my friend.
All right, let me see how quick I can make this. No, I was now looking at that clip with Marco Rubio, right?
Yes.
Here's what I want to see. Marco Rubio is the child of a Cuban immigrant.
Yes.
And it is very, from my perspective, displeasing to see the way he speaks about Venezuela. Let me try to give you a little information into America, right? Scripturally, that is. In Revelation, it speaks about the two-horned beast, right? Mm-hmm. Which is America, which consists of two political parties. Horn, when you speak about horn, it speaks about the symbol of authority. America is the beast that rose from the earth. Who wrote Revelation? The Apostle John. Where did he wrote it? He was kept on the island of Patmos in Italy. He's the only apostle that they can't find. They don't know what became of him. He wrote that through the vision that he got about this beast that rise from the earth. If you have a Bible, go and look it up for yourself, brother. Revelation was written for these last days. America is the beast that was risen from the earth. America has 800 bases all over the world. That is why the infrastructure crumbling. You understand? America, who stifled Venezuela and brought about the election of Chavez because they had a propped up president in Venezuela distributing all the oil from Venezuela to America and was not giving the Venezuelan people nothing. If you look at Venezuela and see how the people living just like Lavante on the hill, only in shock. So when he was voted into office, that is Chavez, he started to distribute the wealth. Chavez closed down all the foreign investors who was coming to Venezuela to steal the oil. And it was done by America. America ain't no saint. You understand? And it is very discouraging to see the way that Marco Rubio talking. He ran against Trump in 2016, and they were literally going at each other. You understand? Look, Trump take him and make him Secretary of State or something like that. So don't look at America as a savior. America has destabilized the whole entire earth. Every country they go in there under the guise that they come under humanitarian purposes to steal the people wealth and resources. When the government of the day of those countries cannot distribute wealth to their people, what do you think occurs? The people have to leave and go outside to look for living because of America and Europe stealing the people resources. Mr. Lennox, I'm getting too emotional.
I hear you,
Have
my
a blessed
friend.
night.
I hear you. But I want to say respectfully that is a conversation for another occasion. My concern at this point in time is Trinidad and Tobago's interest in the midst of all of that. We could, of course, discuss that biblical, historic, and, of course, all of the other nuances associated with, of course, the United States agenda. But my concern is the Trinidad and Tobago agenda. And, of course, the fact that when the Americans make that move against Venezuela, the reality is that Trinidad and Tobago will be affected. No dragon gas will come, and therefore, of course, our circumstance will further, of course, deteriorate. And, of course, I'm saying, in other words, we have a duty and a responsibility to, of course, take charge and to act in a particular way, or in a way that, of course, will preserve Trinidad and Tobago's interests. I'm only concerned about Trinidad and Tobago at this point in time. That's another conversation that we could engage in. So let's get back, of course, to the continuation of the clip that, of course, will include, of course, the short, young, recent talk. Let's go to Miss Arima before, of course, we go further. A pleasant good night.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good night again, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
Well, Lennox,
hey.
I look in Google to get that information that you give out.
Yes.
Stating that the Jamaicans end up buying the shares from Venezuela.
Yeah.
But when I check Google and I scroll, they keep telling you that PDVSA, Caribe have 49%. But no. I saw the debate and all of that, which was old news about 5-6 years ago, where there was, talking in the parliament concerning buying over the shares.
Yeah.
And they was having difficulty. But Google never tell you that they win and get the 49. They keep telling you that they have the 49%, the Venezuelans now.
No, I disagree. I am convinced that they did, in fact, Petro Jam is a strictly Jamaican government-owned entity. And maybe you should go a little more recent, like when Trump came into office, I think in 2018, and from around that time, of course, when Trump and they had, of course, put their sanctions on Venezuela, the Jamaicans knew it was in their interest to get the hell out and disassociate. And they started, and of course, they had some very, raucous negotiations, but eventually, of course, they acquired the 49%.
Yes, because it had some deal. Hello?
Yeah, hold on, caller. Mr. Rima is still on the line.
It had some deal where they had the Venezuelans doing some maintenance for them.
Yes.
Same thing with the one in Aruba. Yeah. They went in to do maintenance for them, and that's how it ended up that way. Yeah.
All right. So,
okay then.
Yeah, maybe do a little deeper, and we may be able to, let's say, reach each other. All right. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Mr.
Good night to you.
Your caller from the news. Now, let us get to the chase of this thing. President Trump has declared that all those South American gangs are now labeled terrorists.
Yes.
Giving him an excuse to attack any country they may presume to want to represent, because America do not allow terrorism from other nations to exist on their soil. Bottom line. And the American people will support that 100%. They are going to use that title of terrorism to get what they have to get. Now it's interesting that this $100 million every is it annually that we pay to Venezuela for a pie in the sky?
For just signing without any tangible rewards or compensation to Trinidad.
And then that could be tied in to financing terrorism. And if you look at the logic, and if you listen carefully to what Mr. Rubio is not saying, what he is clearly not saying, they have already labeled the Venezuelan influx into the United States as terrorism. They are not going to sit idly by having regard to that statement being made, because the rest of the intelligent world is looking on. What are you going to do with your terrorist problem? Because normally America fights terrorism in other people's countries. They go there, they fight our war. And now they've decided it is at home. When they decided that the Twin Towers bombing was an act of terrorism, they destroyed half of, the whole of Iraq and most of Iran. They went in. So it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And if we don't vote out, if elections they call in this country and we don't vote out these people and get the Kamala Prasad Bissessa government to go and say, hey, listen, we're not involved in that at all. We need to be spared from that. Because that is direction it is heading. And all of this talk about Horn and who wrote biblical things and that ain't helping we at all, That is a promise which is a comfort to a fool. I rest my case. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Yes, my friend. And there is credence in that argument. And that's why I love this program, because we can have, of course, differences in opinion, differences in perspective, etc. But at the end of the day, we have to come up with solutions that are Trinidad formula oriented as far as solutions are concerned. And the caller, brings another variable into the discussion, and that is, of course, the credibility of Kamala Prasad Bissessa, and, of course, the anticipated very cordial relationship with the Trump administration when they get into office, simply because it was Kamala Prasad Bissessa, Obama, and, of course, the Jamaican Prime Minister that sponsored at the United Nations the resolution for, of course, treating with anti-terrorism across the globe at the UN. She was one of the original or originators or progenitors of this particular resolution. I remembered very distinctly, because when that occurred in the United Nations Assembly, Obama, Kamala Prasad Bissessa, and, of course, the Jamaican Prime Minister jointly sponsoring a resolution for anti-terrorism across the globe. Rowley was in Santa Cruz, and he was castigating the entire exercise, saying that Kamala Prasad Bissessa should not get herself involved because, of course, when the elephants are rumbling, we as grass will get trampled upon. That is what was the position of this wicked, nasty man called Rowley. And today he's inviting the elephants and them to trample on Trinidad and Tobago. You know what I say? I said today his foreign policy position is that could only conclude that he wants to invite those elephants he spoke of then to trample on Trinidad and Tobago. Because what the hell you bring Delcy Rodriguez here for? What you do that for, Rowley? And we have always said that the Third World War could have started on the tarmac of Piaco Airport. Because you knew full well that the position of the Americans. You knew full well that Maduro is a fugitive from American justice. It was just upgraded, of course, in terms of the bounty. It was 15 million back when Delcy Rodriguez came here. Well, of course, it has been upgraded to a further 10 million, 25 million on Maduro's head. Rowley knew that. Why it is that, of course, suddenly Paria had to get involved in, of course, a shipment of fuel that you say was bound for Aruba, but ended up, of course, in Venezuela, Rowley. Why did you do that to Trinidad and Tobago? Why? And when Kamala Persad-Bissessar doing the right thing, of which we have handsomely benefited from, because what that says is that at least you have an administration that says that it is against the human rights violations of which, of course, the United States are concerned about. Because no matter what you do, whether you say that Venezuela is an independent state and the United States should not get involved, the fact of the matter is that, of course, they have violated on a regular basis and at whim and fancy human rights violations. And don't tell me you don't understand what I'm talking about, because, of course, we are the people who are suffering as a consequence of the migration out of Venezuela. A population of 27 million people, some 8 million people, of course, get out of there, and all of the surrounding countries, whether it be Colombia, or whether it be, of course, Argentina, whether it be Brazil, or whether it be even Guyana, or whether it be, of course, on the mainland I'm talking about, Peru, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, all of them, including, of course, Trinidad and Tobago, over 100,000 of them here right now. That is what Robbie has done to us. But then he was saying that, of course, he was out of an abundance of caution. He was this, of course, diplomatic individual, and, of course, seeking Trinidad and Tobago's foreign policy interests. And when he goes, of course, when he gets the opportunity, whether the United Nations or OAS, he then, of course, either abstains or he didn't go at all. He sent no representative, whether it's at the Lima Group, OAS, or the United Nations. When he goes to the United Nations, he recognized, of course, the government of Venezuela, Maduro, and they, without, of course, uttering a word as to the human rights violation of this of the Maduro administration, and was pleased when Guaido no longer could have, of course, be a force upon which the Americans and the 50 Western world country could have relied upon. As Maduro, of course, manipulation took charge, and as he, of course, took charge of the judiciary. That is what Rowley put us in. That is what the PNM put us in. Lafontaine, all you don't understand what is happening or what? All you understand what is happening here? But let's go to the lines. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, man.
Standing calling. Yeah. I listened to something there, but you know, I just had made 2 cents to say.
Yes.
When a party take a country like Trinidad and Tobago and bring it to the knees, right down to your knees, the condition of our country is from 1956 to now, right? You believe that had the devil in it?
No doubt. But I also believe that evil cannot prevail indefinitely, because when I look at Hitler and, of course, Mussolini and, of course, Saddam Hussein and, of course, Gaddafi, and even, of course, our good friend in in Zimbabwe are talking about, of course, Robert Mugabe. I know
Mugabe,
that Rowley,
yeah.
as well as Maduro's existence are now
Right.
in terms of limited, and it must come to an end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, why I think I asked you that. So why talk about America? What I'm saying, the kind of resources this country have for just 1.45 million people, we can be better off than even America. You know that?
Of course. And I concur, save for the Ball administration over many decades that has turned out to be a total shambolic state of affairs today.
That is the whole point. Because when you look at things, right, we just only idle inside. We had cocoa and coffee, right? That is what people wanted. We had the shipment fig that was going away, yam and dashin that was going away. We had sugar. We had copra. We had citrus. That is all before the oil. And then we come and we get oil. We had train running and we lick it up. Everything, they just lick up. And today, we ain't have oil sale. If they spend the money that they get from the oil on the things that the colonial masters left me with, this country will be better than even Dubai. Because it is a handful of people here for the kind of money what pass through here. So you're fine. We shouldn't be studying America. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, clearly we ought not to. We ought to have been sufficiently well endowed to be as independent as possible. But unfortunately, that is not our reality.
That is the point.
Yeah.
That is the point. So that's what I'm saying. God has put people in a great country, but He does leave you too with it, and to see what you're doing with it. It's up to you to make it great or to spoil it. And when God sees you can't help and you're doing too much, He does come in and put back His hand in it. Because that's why we had to know to go to Kamala now, for she to try to bring it back. Because how it's going now, we can't stay with that.
That's right.
Do you understand?
That's right.
We just can't stay with that. So we have to forget what America say or what we say. And when we have to start to vote on this government and put back Kamala Bissell, because Kamala showed already that she have the fortitude in she to do something good for Trinidad and Tobago. You know? She showed it in a little time.
She has
demonstrated
demonstrated it, yeah.
She demonstrated it, but we watching in another direction, right? And want to compare 5 years with Kamala to over 40 years. You can't compare things so.
That's right.
Right. Look at this 10 years what the PM give us. That is any good years, boy? Eh? That is really bad years. This is famine years, boy. People understand that. Is everything bad in this country? Nothing good. And they only want to come with this election to give. Let me tell you something. One night I hear this man talking about this fishing depot in Grand Chimay. Well, the way that man talk about that, you know what I feel? If you want to be a doctor, you go and fish. If you want to be a pharmacist, you go and fish. If you want to drive up to pilot a plane, you go and fish. Forget everything else and you become a fisherman in Grand Chimay and you go make real money. That is the way I believe this man trying to say this thing. You know? Grand Chimay mustn't do nothing but
I must pull that speech because you know why I laughing? Because he said the same thing to Despas. He said the same thing about the cutting of ribbon to continue the highway to Point 14. He has this ability to, of course, give you some grandiose ideas, but only in the future. And when that future reaches, it's collapse, mayhem, and, of course, total non-productivity. But go ahead.
Yeah, because it's just talk. It don't work that way. Let me tell you one thing before I go.
Go ahead.
He had a little thing on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I used to watch, right?
Yes.
And he had this king that tell everybody just to only grow pumpkin, and they only eating pumpkin day and night. The whole country only eating pumpkin. When the king get fed up, he say he ain't know what to do. One of the minister come and tell him, well, king, let me tell you something. Let some people grow some yam and some breadfruit and some dasheen and some rice and all kind. And go and tell the people that is you who do that. So they wouldn't know it's I who tell you that then. So, right? So when the king hear that, the king go and tell the people what to do. They only bought good plan king. That's when the king is done.
That's right. Well, what you said there reminds me of two stories. One in Greek mythology. The other one, I think, much more practical. But go ahead and finish your contribution.
Yeah. So this is the kind of clown we have running this country, like Rowley, right? They only seeing thing one way, only for themselves, and they're squeezing you. Well, I don't know. He must squeeze you so much that we eye bulking out, and he want to give Church Young now to finish it. To say when we drop, it's not his fault, it's Church Young's fault. Good day, Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, that's what he has done. But of course, the Greek story that it reminds me of is, of course, Sisyphus. Of course, a king that was banished because of his disobedience to the gods, and they banished him, of course, to rolling a big stone up a mountain. And of course, once it goes over, then of course his task would have been completed, because now gravity will take charge, and therefore the big stone will go down to the bottom of the valley on its own weight, so to speak. Well, every time he reached the top and he said, it's about now, bram, it slips somehow and fall back down in the valley, and he has to start that all over again. Well, I think that is Rowley and they tell you, set a hogwash. Tell you how nice things are. And when, of course, when you're looking for it, you have to start all over again, and the pain, ache, and agony. We have seen that, of course, when he tell us in 2020, when they questionably won the elections. He said 2 years of hardship. After the 2 years, everything gone. Everything will be better. Well, 20, 21, 22, that has come and gone. So last year, in 2024 now, he tells us, listen, give us until 2027 now for when things are going to be better. That is the bloody nincompoops that we have purporting to be Prime Minister and Minister of Government, and so only a set of hogwash and fantasy talk. I say, of course, they are victims of what I consider to be manic depressive psychosis. They have no conscience, no sense of reality, none. Things destroying, deteriorating around you, and all you can tell us is that you did this, and you can remember this, and remember that, and so on and so forth, and Kamala, and of course UNC, etc. And you can't tell us anything about you. It's so much so you say now the police on their own. Police on their own. Seeing, of course, apparently like the camera might have had a little issue there. Yes, indeed, of course, I think it's back. Yes, indeed. Let's go straight before, of course, things. Oh, it's 25 minutes past 10, people. Let me try to finish this. If not, we'll have to finish it tomorrow. But let's see.
In my opinion, this signals a power shift in CARICOM, which has been at least 10 years in the making. And that's probably why, according to Telroy, this deal took so long. I think Trinidad didn't want to do it. Now, Trinidad and Jamaica have always been competitors, and the Trinis are going to hate me for saying this, but these last 10 years, Trinidad's economy has been on the decline, while Jamaica has been improving. One of the major issues with doing business in Jamaica, especially for manufacturers, has always been the high cost of energy. Trinidad has always had that advantage. But are the roles now reversing? Remember my Taking Stock interview with Marla Dukaran? She's an economist from Trinidad who was explaining their foreign exchange issues.
The energy. Yes, indeed. Of course, we'll play it. I'll begin with this video tomorrow night. But let's just skip a bit and try to see if we could salvage some additional information from it.
Paria indicated it received the inaugural shipment of approximately 50,000 barrels from Petrojam on February 1st.
None of this 500,000 barrels is for domestic. It is being used in our bunkering operations. We're purchasing it. It is marine fuel that is then being sold to vessels that come into Trinidad's waters at a profit. So it is a net foreign exchange earner. And a fraction, 500,000 barrels, compared to 17 million that Paria purchases.
Now, all that hogwash is saying in synopsis is that he tried to justify that somehow this is a CARICOM initiative and that is good business between brothers, and at the same time saying that that is a small fraction of what they import. What he didn't say is that there was no need to import it if we had, of course, the Petrotrin oil refinery going. That's what he didn't say. And they never told us that Jamaica, a country that doesn't have oil, but has an oil refinery, we never knew that. People, of course, it appears that we're getting a little problem, of course, with the camera. Let's see if we could. Let me just conclude here quickly. We have to conclude here quickly. All right. Yes, indeed. Let me just go straight, of course, to when they were saying.
See, Trinidad and Tobago. We went under the Freedom of Information to the Ministry of Energy and we got the exact data. For 4 years, Petrotrin did not rely on government subventions.
So 4 years they didn't rely. I'm going quickly. Let's go to Imbert. I believe he's somewhere inside of here. Yes, Imbert is here. Listen to what Imbert is now saying.
Being operated, they earned enough foreign exchange.
Not a penny was paid in subventions. How do you feel? Well,
listen to him, but very important.
I feel like everybody's going to want to give me licks because they're going to say I should keep quiet, don't interfere with the big wigs, they will kill me, they will shoot me. But I feel sad when I see children fighting that don't have proper education, when I see people
being operated, they earned enough foreign.
I don't feel good, I don't feel proud, I don't feel patriotic. And I call on you to say something.
When the refinery was being operated, they earned enough foreign exchange from sales, so that they earned more foreign exchange from the sales of refined products, from fuel, from gasoline and diesel, than it cost them to purchase the crude to put through the refinery.
I know you can't believe your ears, but you'll wait until tomorrow to hear more. And is that a typical case of such a betrayal of the national interests, a betrayal of their oath of office, the Rowley administration, that it requires, of course, a trial for treason of the entire Rowley administration?
So they were net foreign exchange. When the refinery was being operated, they earned enough foreign exchange from sales, so that they earned more foreign exchange from the sales of refined products, from fuel, from gasoline and diesel, than it cost them to purchase the crude to put through the refinery. So they were net foreign exchange.
Jamaica exporting fuel oil to Trinidad?
For the first time ever.
Now people clap their hands. People felt so glad when Sniper paint portrait of Trinidad. But look around today, your eyes may get sore. What Sniper
But people, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Tomorrow, of course, I said we will revisit that video. Very interesting indeed. And that's the level of betrayal. And that is why I said 39 seats in Trinidad. Lavatils, you must be part of history. Diego Martins, you must be part of history again. Because you did do what you had to do in 1986. only Lavatil.
No more
And of course, San Fernando East must also be part of history. As we, of course, journey in these very treacherous waters of sharks and, of course, evil that has been, of course, manufactured and created by the rowdy PNM administration. Yes, indeed. So we have come to the end, people. Yes, indeed.
Regardless of your color, your class or race, long ago down here you must find an equal place. We had our crime and our delinquent problem, but like any other country that we had then, those days when on we people run them out, snipers, them with the hell that they talking about. But nowadays when they talk, we can't see the light. Our delinquent and crime problem has gone sky high. Every day you pick up your newspaper, you could read the whole song.
Secretary Rubio.
Venezuela is taking back migrants that the Trump administration is deporting.
Our pit slick is the greatest the world has seen. Yak roads here are the worst in the Caribbean. So don't bow down your head, brother, don't feel bad. I'm only painting and you won't treat down Trinidad.
But people, of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, Andy Michael, myself, as we continue, of course, with these and other issues under the Ground Report. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye. Before, of course, this camera sees up on me again. All right, people? Have a wonderful one. Bye-bye.
Your class or race, long ago down here you must find an equal place. We had our crime and our delinquent problem, but like any other country that we had then, those days when on we people run them out, snipers, them with the hell that they're talking about. But nowadays when they talk, we can't see the light. Our delinquent and crime problem has gone sky high. Every day you pick up your newspaper, you could read the wholesome youth for marijuana. Shooting and thieving is really disgusting. That a shame to admit that this thing happened. With revolution and race talk, my country is filled. Today I live under a sedition bill. I'm only conscious of my place and not going mad.